And we'll get this thing going. Again, not so subtle. Okay. I'd like to call to order the City of Sumner City Council meeting. The date is the 18th of October and the time is 6 p.m. As a reminder, COVID-19 pandemic continues the health and safety of our community. In an effort to be diligent, the city is continuing to conduct all public meetings virtually using the Zoom platform. Access information can be located on the city's website on each meeting agenda. And as the pandemic evolves and when it is safe to do so, we look forward to welcoming everybody back to City Hall for in-person and hybrid meetings in our newly renovated council chambers. That I will ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You do your best job to lock the dogs out and somehow they find their way into. Anyway.
Are you referring to me?
No, Sammy. She's okay.
Are you ready, Bill? Are you ready for me to pray?
Yeah, I'm. If I go dark in the video because I'm still listening to you, Reverend Osborne. I'm just getting the dog out of here. So go ahead with the invocation. Okay. Thank you very much.
Jeremy was not available, and so I am the backup prayer for the chaplain team. I was thinking about our community as I prepared this prayer, and I realized that in a few weeks in my faith tradition is All Saints Day, where we remember those who have gone before us. But with the death of Mr. Sumner, it felt at this moment that I wanted to offer this prayer tonight. So will you pray with me? We bless your name, gracious God, and we thank you for our servants who, having finished their course, now rest from their labors. Grace us and give us the grace to follow their example, their steadfastness, their faithfulness. May the love that he shared for our community continue to grow in our hearts. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Pam, and have a wonderful evening. Okay. With that, Michelle, would you please go through and call the roll?
Potato.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Hayden.
Here.
Hamilton.
Here.
Hochstetter.
Here.
Newman.
Absent.
Reed.
Absent. Both council members, Newman and Reed, notified us that they would not be attending tonight's meeting. So I would call on the deputy mayor to make a motion to excuse them.
Yes, I move we excuse council members Reed and Newman from tonight's meeting.
Thank you
I'll
very much.
second it.
Seconded by Councilmember Potato. All those in favor of excusing council members Newman and Reed from tonight's meeting, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? I don't hear any
Aye.
opposed. I think that was a really late aye and not an aye for a no. Okay, chair rules that they are excused. Okay, move on to the consent agenda. And before I ask the deputy mayor for a motion, could I have the city clerk please read the consent agenda?
Consent agendas consist of items number 1, checks on the electronic payments in the amount of $1,429,189.04. Item 2, minutes from the regular council meeting of October 4th, 2021 and October 11th, 2021 study session. Item 3, 166th Avenue widening improvements, design agreement supplement. Item 4, Pierce County for Specialized Recreation Services Agreement. Item 5, 2021 through 2023 Collective Bargaining Agreement, fully skilled representing commissioned employees. And item 6, Rainier View Covered Court, consultant design contract.
When your own laptop gives you the reminder that you're muted. Thank you very much, Michelle. Is there any items on the consent agenda that any council member would like to be removed for separate consideration? Okay, seeing none, Michelle, would you, we'll do a roll call on this one. Go ahead.
You want me to move for?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kathy. Kathy, I may have to move from my, I'm about a half a sync off with the video and the audio on this thing, and it's really weird. Go ahead, Kathy.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Can I get a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you very much, Councilman Hochstetter. Okay, now we're back on track. All those in favor of adopting the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There's no opposition, so the consent agenda is adopted. Now's the time for a public hearing. In this case, the public hearing is on the Sumner High School modernization project rights of way vacation. And so I would open the hearing at 6:06 and call on City Attorney Andrea Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. As part of the Sumner High School modernization project, the Sumner Bonnie Lake School District submitted a petition to vacate four sections of right-of-way back on July 15th, 2021. The 4 sections are shown on the map that I'm showing on the screen here in blue hatch marks. They are, first, the alley adjacent to Washington Street. Second, the Mason Street alley. Third, what is being named the West Main Street Triangle. And 4, the East Main Street Triangle. The city does not currently utilize or maintain any of these areas of right-of-way. However, there are public utilities underlying 3 out of the 4 right-of-way sections that the city will reserve easements for if these sections are vacated. The city proposes vacating all of the requested right-of-way sections free of charge in consideration of the fact that the city has not incurred costs related to the acquisition of the right-of-way or maintenance of any of the right-of-way areas. On September 20th, 2021, Council passed Resolution 1595 setting tonight's public hearing, after which time staff published notice and posted notice signs on all 4 sections of this right-of-way. In addition to tonight's public hearing, which we encourage citizens to call in and comment, I did receive 3 telephone calls with public comment. I believe I've addressed all of the questions that were asked. I received a call from Jerry, who owns 1423 Mason Street. He called to ask whether there was any impact to his home, which is on the north side of Mason Street. And I explained where the areas of the right-of-way were. We discussed the map, and I believe I've addressed all of his concerns. He was additionally concerned about the bus queuing on Mason Street. I also received a call from Randy Hynek, who owns an apartment complex on Long Washington Street, and he called to express concern about the bus route, exhaust fumes, and whether or not the Washington Street alley would be used for bus parking and impact his apartment complex. I walked him through the school district's designs, the landscape buffer that they intend to build, the fencing around that location, and I believe I addressed all of his concerns. And the third comment that I received prior to tonight was from Dan McClung, who owns property adjacent to what is being called the East Main Street right-of-way triangle. He owns the building that Subway is located in to give people a frame of reference. And he called to ask some questions about the vacation process, how it would impact his property, where the east line of the property being vacated lines up, and a couple of other little questions about the history of the right-of-way. So I wanted to put all of those on the record, and now I will stop talking to open it up.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Before I call on the public, any clarifications that's needed by the council on anything that's been presented so far before we get into public comment? really is the opportunity of public comment and public hearings to hear from the public regarding this particular issue. But if there's any clarifications council would like prior to that, please bring them up. Councilmember Potato.
Just looking at the map, it looks like it's the map of the whole project, not just the first section of the, that's going on now. Because it looks like it goes all the way over to, from Wood all the way over to Valley. Am I correct?
You're correct, Councilmember Potato. This rendering does show both phases of the proposed project. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification, Councilmember Potato. Any other clarifications needed? Seeing none raised by the council, we will now call upon the public. And Michelle, as I understand it, the public was invited to submit some comments, just like they phone called their city attorney. They're invited to submit comments regarding this particular issue. Did you receive any written comments from members of the public?
No, Mayor Pugh, I did not.
Okay, thank you. Try to bring this up. I would ask that if there's any individual that would like to address the council on this particular issue, please use the raise your hand feature. If you are an attendee, use the raise the hand feature, and it's the bottom of your screen, or where you're listed under attendees, or the *9 on your phone. Any member of the public that would like to address the council on this particular issue? Okay, I do not see anyone. So therefore, I will declare the public hearing is closed at 6:12. Now we move on to regular business. And first thing is unfinished business. There is no unfinished business, so we'll turn to public comment. And this is time for public comment for anything that the public would like to address the council on that isn't on the agenda, just for clarification. But first of all, before we get into what the public comment instructions are, I would ask, to the city clerk, to your office, before tonight's meeting, did you receive any public comment?
No, Mayor Pugh, I did not.
Okay. And so what I'll do is I'll ask if there's any members of the public that would like to address the council on any issue that is not on our agenda. Use the raise your hand feature on the Zoom platform or *9 on your phone. Okay, seeing none, Michelle, you escaped having to read through our guidelines, and I will declare that we are finished with public comment. Now we move on to new business, and under new business, the first one is Planning Commission appointment. And I would, first of all, before we get into that, Deputy Mayor, could you make a motion on this and get a second, and then we can call on Ryan?
Yes, I would like to confirm the appointment of Sharon Falkman to the Sumner Planning Commission for a term beginning in November 2021 and expiring in April 2024.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Hamilton. Thank you very much. Okay, now I will call on Community Development Director Ryan Windisch. Mr. Windisch.
Thank you, Mayor Pugh and members of the City Council. Before you tonight is the appointment for Ms. Sharon Falkman. First, I want to talk a little bit about what the Sumner Planning Commission does. The Sumner Planning Commission serves in an advisory capacity to the City Council. The Commission's main purpose is to assist in the implementation of the vision and policies in the Sumner Comprehensive Plan, including reviewing and making recommendations on various city plans, goals, and policies, and the Sumner Zoning Code and Development Regulations. The Planning Commission currently has 5 members who are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the City Council. A majority of the members must be residents of the city of Sumner, while 2 members may be non-residents who have a demonstrated interest in the city of Sumner, like business owners, for example. The members of the Planning Commission are to be selected without respect to political affiliations and shall serve without compensation. Members are appointed for a 4-year term. Ms. Sharon Fochman is a retired educator and business administrator and has lived in Sumner since 1985. She recognizes and appreciates the special character of Sumner's different neighborhoods, and Ms. Fochman has a keen interest in maintaining the quality of life in Sumner for all ages, and in particular for seniors as the community grows. So as you heard, the recommendation is to confirm appointment of Sharon Fochman to the Sumner Planning Commission for a term beginning in November 2021 and expiring in April 2024. And I see that Ms. Fochman is in the audience. So thank you, Mayor. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions of Ryan before I call on Sharon? Go ahead, Barb.
Is she replacing somebody on the commission?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Botetto. She is replacing and fulfilling Greg Mintz's term. Greg had to resign from the commission for personal reasons.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Good question, Councilmember Botetto. I don't see any questions from council. Sharon, explain yourself. Why would you do this? Why would you want to do this? Oops, you're muted.
There we go. Had to unmute. I'm not used to this kind of a Zoom meeting. I'm usually with my family and we just all talk together.
Yeah.
I am excited to get involved. I've been involved in the city of Sumner and the city of Bonnie Lake as a Sumner Bonnie Lake School District employee for over 32 years. And I just love this community. And I feel that as a member of a community, we have the responsibility to be engaged with our community and work together to keep our community a living area for all who live here. I love Sumner and I'm just excited to get involved. I know many of the council members and Sumner city employees, and I'm excited to work together with them to keep our community unique and special.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sharon. Questions or comments by council members? Deputy Mayor.
I just want to say to Sharon, thank you for signing up for Planning Commission. It's a valuable tool for us to help make our decisions. So we appreciate it big time. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me do it.
Yep, there you are. Councilmember Hamilton.
Kind of just echoing Kathy's comments. Thank you very much for doing this. Many of us actually came from the Planning Commission, so we know what kind of commitment it is, and we certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments by council members? I just add my 2 cents worth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, I don't think the general public really understands the value of the volunteerism that we have out there. And when you step up and do all the things you do as planning commissioners or design commissioners are on the arts, it's incredible. And that's what makes the town strong. So, you know, thank you again. Okay, is there any member that is of the public that's attending the meeting that would like to address the council on this appointment? I don't see any, so I would ask Michelle to please call the roll.
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Botetto,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Hey, it's unanimous. You can't back out now.
Thank you.
So again, thank you very much, Sharon.
Thank you.
Okay, we now move on to another appointment, and that's the Forestry and Parks Commission appointment. Mr. Child, so I would call on the deputy mayor for a motion.
Sure. I'd like to confirm the appointment of Marty Child to the Forestry and Parks Commission to a term expiring April 30th, 2025.
Let's see how long it takes to get a second. Second, thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor and Councilmember Hamilton. Okay. I don't see Mr. Barry there, so who's the tag you're at?
Mr. Barry's present.
There he is. Sorry, you bounced around into the screen. Nice background.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Mayor Pugh is seeking the appointment of Marty Child to the Forestry and Parks Commission. The Forestry and Parks Commissioners shall have input to the supervision of all parks, recreational facilities, cemetery, trails, trees, and the planting strips belonging to the city, and shall have the power to develop and recommend rules and regulations for the government and the management thereof, which shall be subject, of course, by the City Council. The rules and regulations of the Forestry and Parks Commissioners shall be enforced by the Police and Public Works Department of the city. The Forestry and Parks Commission shall promote the responsible planting of trees on public and private property, public education about trees, promoting proper maintenance, advocating trees within the city, and developing innovative and joint funding for projects from a variety of sources. The Forestry and Parks Commission shall be responsible for developing and implementing the urban forestry strategy and implementing the necessary requirements to fulfill the Tree City USA, along with the help of Michelle Converse, of course, for our status to accomplish the purpose of the chapter. So Marty and his wife recently moved to Sumner from Florida, quite a distance, to be closer to their family. He has an extensive background in landscape architecture and has helped design many parks and multi-use trails. I really look forward to his contributions to the Forestry and Parks Commission, as well as his contributions to the community. And it looks like Marty is here with us right now.
Okay. Before we get to any members of the council that have any clarification questions for Derek? Deputy Mayor.
Same thing, Marty. Just thank you very much. We appreciate all our volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I do have a question for Derek Barry, real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Derek, it sounds like you've expanded the range of the work that this commission does. It used to be very, very limited. So how is that working out?
It's good. We've got a good group right now. I think Marty brings an expertise that we haven't had before, which is really beneficial with all the work that's going on. As you know, we're working on the Bennett property as well as the Siebenthaler with the master planning. So his insight from the private sector will be very beneficial to us for the public sector.
Sounds like we're lucky to have found him.
Definitely.
Any other council members, any clarifications, questions? Seeing that, Councilmember Hochstetter, I agree with your statement. You just made, it sounds like a good thing that we found him or he found us, because it was incredible talking to him, even through Zoom. It was incredible. So with that, Marty, go ahead and talk to the council about why you want to do this.
Okay. Yes, Mayor Pugh, I was real excited when we moved to Sumner. We, like Derek said, we really didn't know anyone here in Sumner. We just kind of happened to end up here with our move. My daughter and grandkids, they live in Snoqualmie, so we're about 45 minutes away from them. But we just really love Sumner. We've been here since July. I recently retired as a landscape architect. I worked for about 40 years designing, numerous parks and multi-use trails and complete streets and things like that. I worked a lot in the public sector as a landscape architect with a private design firm. And when I moved out here and saw that Sumner was, actively developing parks and streetscapes and things like that, it was really exciting to me. And I contacted Derek just to ask him if he ever needed any volunteers or anybody for, any committees. I would love to help I think some of my experience from being on the design side would be beneficial now to sit on the other side of the table and comment and review on things that are being designed for the city.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Marty. Brings a lot to the table and it'd be great. I said, okay, you got here, let's see, late summer. You have not gotten through one of our winters yet.
No.
So we hope you're still around at the end of it.
Yeah, we'll be here. It's going to take an adjustment.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Is any member of the public that is attending the meeting that would like to address the council on this appointment? Seeing none, Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Hamilton,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Eden,
Yes.
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Potato.
Yes.
Okay, Marty, you're now officially a member of the Parks and Forestry Commission. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. I look forward to being a part of it.
Good. Thank you very much. Then we move on to ordinance number 7696, having to do with the International Building Code, International Fire Code. I'd ask the Deputy Mayor for a motion.
I would like to move to approve ordinance number 2796, amending and updating the International Building and International Fire Codes for the city of Sumner.
Second.
Thank you very much. It's the power of silence. Somebody will feel it eventually, I hope, or else you're going to be here a long time. Thank you, Councilmember Hamilton. Okay. And
Did you need the words 2018 in there?
yes,
Let's add those words.
yeah, yep. I know it. Sort of seems strange, but maybe we can get an explanation from Mr. Windisch. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. Ordinance 2796 would adopt the latest version of the International Building and Fire Codes for the City of Sumner. The current codes are a 2015 edition, and the ordinance before the council tonight updates each of the codes to the 2018 edition. And you might be wondering, why are we running so far behind? Deputy Mayor contacted me earlier today asking the same question. And the reason is the State Building Code Council has not completed their update until just this last February. Granted, we're still maybe running a little bit behind, but we are not running behind by 3 years because of our own lack of adopting these. We've been waiting for the State Building Code to finish their adoption. And as it would be, the codes are originally crafted at the National Building Code level, then it goes to the State Building Code, and then comes down to the local level for adoption. And that's where we're at right now. So the 2018 updates are generally minor adjustments to the regulations with no broad-reaching impacts. Our building official and fire official assure me of that. And so staff is recommending that the council update and adopt the new amendments as approved by the state with no changes. I also want to note that in the ordinance language, we have added, our city attorney has advised us on adding some language that basically will allow for an automatic adoption into the future so that we don't have to come back every 3 years and do this. So that is also in the code. So the staff's recommendation is move to amend and update the International Building and Fire Codes for the city of Sumner to the 2018 edition. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions. Oh, I also want to mention I went through committee with a due pass recommendation, the CD committee on September 22nd.
Thank you very much, Mr. Windisch. Any council members have any questions of Mr. Windisch on the adoption of these two sections? And go ahead, Councilmember Hamilton.
Not a question so much as a comment. I'll just echo Ryan's statement that, yeah, these building codes, it might say 2018, but it's really standard for them to actually not come through and pass for years after.
Thank you for that clarification, Councilmember Hamilton. See any other comments or questions by council? Okay, anybody that's attending the meeting that would like to address the council on this issue? Okay, seeing none. Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Eden,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Okay, the code is adopted unanimously. Now we'll move on to ordinance number 2798, having to do with the interchange commercial zone regulations update. And I would call on the deputy mayor for a motion.
I'm a lucky one tonight. I move that we adopt ordinance number 2798, interchange commercial zones and regulations update.
Yes, and I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved by the deputy mayor, seconded by Councilmember Hochstetter. I would call on Ann Siegenthaler, the associate planner. Go ahead, Ann.
Great. Good evening, Mayor Pugh and council members. I will make my presentation brief, but I would like to share my screen. If Mr. Steffens will allow me to do that. I just wanted to bring our zoning map up on the screen for reference. What's before you tonight is a proposal to update our interchange commercial zone to add 2 new uses. Outright make permitting easier for these 2 uses. The first use is auto collision services, or you might know them as auto collision centers. And the other use would be boat sales. And just to remind everyone where our interchange commercial zones are, down at 410, the red cross hatching is interchange commercial. So down at 410, where we have our auto dealerships and the mini storage. And then the only other place where we have interchange commercial is up here. This is 24th, and this is the mustard seeds, Washington tractor, and Peterbilt in here. So those are the 2 core areas that we're talking about for interchange commercial. And the interchange commercial zone is one of 3 zones that we have, and it's intended to be the most intensive zone. You'll notice that these are located near freeway interchanges. So they're zones that are intended to allow more intensive commercial uses, actually our most intensive commercial uses, and to offer locations for use that might benefit from a freeway proximity. So this proposal came to us from a property owner up in this interchange commercial zone area. And after discussion, review with the Planning Commission staff and the Planning Commission support allowing these 2 uses, because we believe they would be compatible with other uses in the interchange commercial zone, and they would expand the available uses for these key areas next to the freeways. So first, in terms of boat sales, one of the uses we're proposing, currently boat sales are allowed only as a conditional use permit. They're grouped together with heavy equipment. However, that doesn't make sense. Boat sales are very similar to recreational vehicle sales, large commercial truck sales like Peterbilt, Holsbo RV. So it makes sense to staff to allow boat sales as an outright permitted use, no conditional use permit needed in the interchange commercial zone. And then auto collision centers are currently prohibited in our commercial zones. And in the past, this has been common in the past due to the potential impacts of these kinds of facilities regarding noise and odors. But now a lot of cities actually allow auto collision centers in commercial zones. And you'll see these often along the main strip in Auburn, going up to on 410 up to Bonnie Lake. And these look very much like a typical kind of a strip mall type of structure in a commercial, along a commercial strip. So we support adding collision centers as an outright allowed use. However, what the proposed code does is it restricts these auto collision centers to a particular type of auto collision, and that would be just for smaller passenger cars. and not for heavy equipment, collision repair, or large semi trucks. So we've created some definitions that would make these distinctions between types of vehicles being repaired. The other thing that the proposed code does is it adds performance standards to the code to try to control the potential impacts that that we might see with auto collision centers. And this is the code that I have on my screen here with performance standards. And those include things such as the requirement that all repair must be conducted indoors. So that's going to limit noise and dust and odors. We were also concerned about how these types of uses would be viewed from the street front and from our public pedestrian ways. So we're requiring that outdoor staging of vehicles waiting to be repaired can only be allowed behind the building. And then we also have some screening requirements and some pretty detailed screening requirements with tree sizes and infilling shrubs and so on. So it's staff's belief that together with the performance standards that will limit the impacts, auto collision services could be a very appropriate compatible use in the interchange commercial zone. I'll mention the Planning Commission held a public hearing on this in September, and the CD committee gave their due pass recommendation to this ordinance. So that's my summary, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Ann. Council members, any questions or comments? Questions of Ann or comments on what's proposed? Any questions or comments? Cindy, is that a hand raised?
It is. I just wanted to say that we did go over this quite thoroughly in CD committee, and Ann gave us lots of good explanations, and I'm totally satisfied with the changes. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Councilmember Hochstetter. Any other council comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. Anybody that is attending the meeting that would like to address the council on this particular ordinance, please use the raise your hand feature or star 9 on your phone. Okay, seeing none. Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Potato,
Yes.
Hochstetter,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance number 2797, excuse me, 2798, get the right one down here. Thank you very much, Ann. Okay, now we move on to the next one, which is ordinance number 2798, having to do with the 21-22 biennial budget amendment. And I would ask the deputy mayor for a motion.
I believe I'm the person. Are we doing 2797?
Yes, it's Barbara.
Yeah. I move to adopt.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Barbara. You know, you're going to have to help me along this evening. It's not going well.
All right. I move to adopt ordinance 2797, amending the 2021-2022 biennial budget.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Councilmember Potato and a second by Councilmember Brown, having to do with the biennial budget amendment. Call on Cassandra to give us a background on this.
Good evening, everyone. So in your in your packet, you have a schedule that shows the detailed impact of this third quarter amendment to the 2021-2022 biennial budget. And I would like to actually share my screen and just review really functionally what this amendment does. So this amendment, it amends the general fund to do a couple of things. It recognizes the labor impacts of the bargain contracts with the police guild. This also recognizes some increased reimbursable overtime in the police department, along with the offset for that revenue. That's really when we have third parties that contract with our law enforcement services to provide extra duty services. It gets charged to an overtime expenditure budget, and then we bill out to cover all of those costs, and we do recoup 100% of those costs. This also amends our Metro Animal Services Fund to incorporate our 2022 rate increases, as well as increased staffing. This reclassifies a part-time kennel technician to a full-time shelter assistant to assist with coverage requirements. We have funding in here to amend our information technology fund with an offset from our general fund and our sewer fund to contract with Stone Share for SharePoint implementation. This is part of our overall Office 365 implementation to really facilitate collaboration with our electronic files. This further amends Fund 550. This is information technology to recognize a justice assistance grant. This is to acquire some police-related software. So we recognize both the revenue and the expenditure. And then also amending our sewer fund to recognize grants from Puget Sound Energy and the relating expenditures. We did review the detail of this third quarter budget amendment with Finance Committee in October and received a due pass. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Cassandra. Questions or comments by council members? Questions or comments? I do not see any hands raised. So I'll move from there to members of the public. Any member that is attending this meeting like to address the council on this issue, please use the raise hand feature or *9 on your phone. Okay, seeing none. Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Brown,
yes,
Potato,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Hochstetter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cassandra. Ordinance number 2797 is adopted unanimously. That brings us to ordinance number 2799, compensation schedule, et cetera. And I would call on Councilmember Botetto for a motion.
Okay. I move to approve ordinance number 2799, amending the 2021 compensation schedule and adopting the 2022 compensation schedule.
Second.
Seconded Councilmember Hamilton, I believe. Okay, and with that, I will call on Administrative Services Director, Mr. Jeff Steffens. Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, I was having a difficult time unmuting myself. Good evening. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. I know.
You realize that is a heck of an opening.
Yeah, an ominous beginning to a presentation. There we go. So thank you for joining me this evening. I'm going to be presenting our non-represented employee salary study. So really, this was something that was put on my work plan by the mayor at the beginning of the year. And that is because you as the city council and citizens of Sumner have high standards for our employees. And we feel that we're committed to providing a fair and competitive compensation package that will attract and motivate and retain highly qualified individuals to come work here at the city of Sumner. We believe that it is in the best interest of the city to compensate our workforce fairly for the value of work provided, and of course, within our financial ability to do so. Providing a competitive compensation package allows us to not only attract, but also to retain top talent, which ultimately saves taxpayers money in the long run. This salary study was worked on by myself, HR Manager Adrian McNeely, and City Administrator Jason Wilson, and is really unlike any salary study, at least in the last 20 years, that has been done at Sumner. It covers 53 non-represented employees and roughly 47 different positions at the city. So just a reminder, typically the city looks at represented salaries. So that would be our unionized positions, every 3 to 4 years as part of labor negotiations. But looking at unrepresented employees is not something we've typically done. The last time that we went through this similar exercise was back in 2017, and that only included 7 positions. So our philosophy this analysis is intended to be objective, non-discriminatory, and ensure equal pay. It's really based on data and the job descriptions of the position, not necessarily the person currently occupying the position. We discussed with the Finance Committee back in spring our list of comparable cities that we were going to use. They included Auburn, Bonnie Lake, Federal Way, Fife, Gig Harbor, Kent, Lakewood, Puyallup, and Tukwila. And these cities were chosen really because this is who the city of Sumner is competing against in the local labor market. Not all cities are created equal. Every city is different, has a different mix of services. And myself and the Finance Committee felt like this was the best group to analyze. This is who, like I said, who we're competing against in the local labor market. And our goal was to align our city salaries to approximately just 95% of the average top 3 in these comparable cities. And the next slide will kind of go through an example of how that works. So if we're looking at a classification and the top 3 comparable salaries were $10,200, $9,800, and $9,500 a month, the average of that would be $9,833. Our recommended salary would be roughly 95% of that, so approximately $9,341. We needed to bump those salaries up or down slightly so we could align salaries on a pay band, so we didn't end up with 53 different salary steps. That's why you'll see some higher or lower. Once again, our key objectives in doing this salary survey were to be competitive, to have internal equity, so jobs with similar qualifications, complexity of duties would be in similar salary bands. We wanted to be consistent. Positions with similar job responsibilities, education and training requirements, skills and abilities were paid similar salaries. We wanted to be transparent. In government, salaries are transparent. Like I said, this is data-driven and data-based. And we wanted to look at compression. We have union salaries are often adjusted every 3 or 4 years. And we wanted to make sure that there was adequate distance between non-represented supervisors and their unionized subordinates. A great example of this is the salary of a deputy police chief compared to that of a sergeant. So our study findings, of these positions, on average, they were 9% below market. Some positions were as much as 25% behind our local competitors. We did find 3 positions that were currently above where they should be slotted. Our largest discrepancies were found in our IT department and our more senior level employees. And both the deputy chief and police chief were well below comps and also, like I said, had compression issues. We had some study recommendations. Our first recommendation is those salaries that were above where they should be. We recommend that those salaries are frozen until they're caught up with the labor market. Specifically, our city clerk and information systems administrator positions should be reclassified as exempt positions. So this would make them no longer overtime eligible and be moved from the technical classification of employees into what is known as the operations pay band. Before we had a professional licensed salary group and an operations group. We have recommended that we're combining those groups together. As a group, we also recommend that we compensate our engineer positions slightly above comparables. We know that engineer positions are difficult to attract in our current job market, and we're often competing against private consulting firms for top-notch employees. So we felt that it was willing to go a little bit above and beyond market in those positions. Next recommendation is that we adopt this compensation schedule effective November 1st. The positions that we're comparing against, we're looking at salaries that went into effect for most of these cities as of January 1st of this last year. So in essence, there's been 10 months where our employees have been underpaid based on this data. And then our next recommendation is to really perform this salary review in smaller pieces in conjunction with the annual budget process or biannual budget process. That way we'll have small incremental increases instead of a one-time catch-up where we find that we're 25% behind the market in certain positions. So the fiscal impacts of this salary survey. In 2021, assuming it's adopted tonight, effective November 1st, you'd be looking at a total fiscal impact of $53,470. And for 2022, that would be $386,999. And of those salaries, you can see the general fund portion there, but approximately 20% of that will be allocated off through our indirect cost assessment, which is kind of an overhead charge that we charge our utilities. And this also includes some savings that we realized through eliminating a finance technician 2 position effective this last summer. Now, Sumner has historically been conservative in our sales tax projections, and we've been fortunate enough to exceed those expectations now this year and the previous year. And talking to Chief Financial Officer Cassandra Raymond, she feels comfortable in a minor tweak of that forecast in 2022 by roughly 0.5% would more than cover the fiscal impacts of this salary survey and still fall within what she believes is still to be conservative. Also, as part of this ordinance is adopting the 2022 salary adjustment. Historically, our non-represented employees have received 100% of CPI, which is inflation. This year, that number is 5.5%, and our recommendation is to put it at 4%. This increase will match our other labor CBAs. And then also included in tonight's ordinance is adopting the compensation schedule amendment based on the ratified CBA from earlier this evening for the Police Guild. Sorry, it's right there. I got ahead of myself. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Steffens. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to tell Jeff and Adrian, I don't think she's on here, but thank you. I know how hard you worked on this whole study and how you were kind of going crazy there for a while, but thank you for making it simple to read and hopefully keep our people working for us and not go somewhere that is paying more. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Go ahead, Cindy.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me, Barb, you weren't done yet?
Well, I didn't, I had my yellow hand up. I just want to thank Jeff and Adrian and everybody that worked on it, because our finance committee meeting this month was 3 hours long. So we really went through a lot of this very detailed and, really, we understood why there were such a, lot of differences in the different salaries. And, if you look around, like for the police, they're having so much trouble getting anybody to be hired. So we need to really keep our top 2. That's real important to me. And then also the number of employees we have that are in senior positions, we would hate to lose any of them because they are so valuable to the city. So I just really appreciate the time that was put into, and the mayor, thank you for bringing it up to address, because it's a pretty important issue.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Botetto. I'll let you lower your own hand. Okay. Councilmember Hochstetter, you had your hand raised?
Yes, I'd just like to comment that I have had a lot of discussion with staff, and there's just because I had a lot of heartburn on how large a sum of money this was going to be for the city. And some of the methods I questioned a little bit. I thought the selection of the cities that we might have been gauging ourselves against maybe too large of a city. But anyways, I want to thank everybody for answering my questions as thoroughly as possible. And I thought Jeff's explanation was clear and concise. So I want to thank him for that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Hochstetter. Any other council members, questions or comments on this issue? Go ahead, Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, thanks. I value everybody. And we need to keep them. I'm a tightwad. You can ask my wife this. And 95% is a lot. I'm not in favor of that totally. Also, one thing I really don't like is that the raise would take effect in November. I think it should start at the beginning of the year. Not only would they get that raise, they get 4% more. That's ginormous. $53,000 is not peanuts to me. We can save that much by waiting 2 months. That's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. I appreciate your reticence, not wanting to speak your mind at all on these things. That's a joke, Councilmember Brown. Okay, other councilmember comments and questions? Other councilmember comments and questions? I was a little disappointed this evening with the absence of 2 of our council members, both Councilmember Newman and Councilmember Reed. Not that they didn't have valid excuse absences, but the fact that they had been involved with the Finance Committee and with staff in moving this through the process. And the one thing that I had heard when I attended the last meeting from Councilmember Newman is that the previous evening, she had sat through a City of Tacoma City Council meeting in which they were going through their compensation study. And frankly, their compensation study was very confusing. It was disorganized from her standpoint and not well thought out as compared to, at least in her opinion, how we approached our salary, survey. And so anyway, I pass on my compliments to staff. I'll say a couple more things and then shut up. But I told the Finance Committee, why do things go so well at the city? And it could be that we have great council members, and that always is really a good thing and it helps. Or we could have a really great mayor, but yeah, not so much. It's really because we have great staff. They're the ones that get the stuff done, that keep the mayor moving along, that get great policy issues before the city council. And without that staff, you don't have stuff to discuss or stuff to deal with. And so it's extremely important. We're in a very competitive marketplace, right now. And it's going to be, I think, given the economics and everything else, it's going to continue to be a very competitive marketplace. The demand is high, the positions are few, and I think we become very much of a target with the quality of the employees we have. So we need to be competitive wage-wise to retain those employees. And I guess my last 3 things were, will it cost us? Yes. Yes, it will. Is it worth it? Absolutely. Because I think the cost of not having great staff is far greater. Anyway, with that, I will shut up. And any more comments from council members? Okay. Any members of the public that would like to address the council on this issue? Okay, seeing none. Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Hochstetter,
No.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Brown,
No.
Hayden,
Yes.
Kept on going through this thing saying it didn't add up to 7, and then show you how I'm doing today. No, there's 5 of you. Okay, ordinance number 2799 is passed by a vote of 3-2. Brings us to item number G, which is the Sumner Meadows Purchase and Sale Agreement Extension. And I would call on Councilmember Hochstetter for a motion.
Yes, Mayor, I would like to authorize you to execute an extension to the November 13th, 2018 purchase and sale agreement between the city and CSHV Sumner Meadows LLC, substantially in the form as attached and approved by the city attorney.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Hochstetter. Could I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by, is that Councilmember Hamilton? Thank you very much. Okay, with that, I will call on City Attorney Andrea Marquez.
Thanks, Mayor. Before you tonight is an extension to the 2018 amended and restated purchase and sale agreement for the former golf course property. The 3-year term is not arbitrary. It is intended to get the city through to a point in which it can transact this or close this transaction, meaning that it will no longer require the property as a condition of the White River project and any conditions that may attach to the Army Corps of Engineers permit that is expected sometime next year. There is a provision in this PSA extension that will require an early closure by the buyer if certain terms have been met. And the buyer, over the course of several years, beginning back in 2014, believe it or not, has been extremely flexible in working with the city on ever-changing rules, ever-changing timelines, and lots of uncertainties that have revealed themselves over the course of many years. And so city staff do recommend approval of this PSA extension for a term not to exceed 3 years. I'm happy to answer questions. Don Marcy is also here with us tonight. He's been integral in this negotiation and also here to answer questions if there are any.
Good evening, Mr. Marcy. The questions or comments the council has of either Andrea or Don? Any questions or concerns you have? Go ahead, Councilmember Hochstetter.
I'd just like to say that I'm very happy that the buyer has continued to ride this ride with us, and looks like we might make it to the finish line. So thank you, everybody involved.
It's been a long journey. Into council questions or comments? Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, Andrea, are there still 3 areas to be developed?
I'm not completely sure I understand your question. There are 2 separate parcels, and the buyer has proposed, at least in initial renderings, 2 separate warehouses. Is that what your question is, Councilmember Brown?
Well, I was looking at the paperwork and I thought I saw 3, but there's just 2.
Let me look at the attachment to the PSA that's in the packet, and you are right that there are 3 separate buildings proposed. I was incorrect in that. There are 2 separate parcels. So the idea and the way the extension is written is if they can close on at least one of those parcels, but don't yet have access to the other, that they will close on all of it, meaning the $40 million and change purchase price, even while they can't access that second parcel. So thank you. I stand corrected. There are 3 proposed warehouse buildings.
All right, 2 parcels, 3 buildings.
Exactly.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, had to change a venue so I could get signal strength. Okay, any other questions or comments, members of the council? Any questions or comments? Thank you very much, Mr. Marcy, for logging on and tuning in tonight. Appreciate it. Anybody that is attending the meeting that would like to address the council on this issue? I don't see any. So Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Hayden,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Potato,
Yes.
Hofstadter.
Yes.
Hey, it's adopted unanimously. Brings us to reports and reports by the city council. Councilmember Hochstetter.
I got a new car. Is that worthy? Otherwise, I have the
That is
parade.
that is most worthy considering what happened to your last one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, and the homecoming parade was sure a lot of fun. Everybody was in the greatest moods. The weather always clears up and shines on us. So I think, and the students even cleaned up after the parade, which I was really happy about that. So thanks to the school district for making us all have a good time.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Hochstetter. Deputy Mayor Hayden.
Yeah, to follow up on the parade, I also enjoyed it, although we were the only one not to throw candy. So that felt wrong, but it was a fun time and ballots are in. So vote and let's go.
Okay. Councilmember Hamilton.
Yeah, just to echo on that, the parade was great. The weather was good. Tons of people came out. It was nice to see everybody outside and enjoying themselves, followed by a great football game too.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Hamilton. Councilmember Brown.
Yes, I've always appreciated and will miss Mr. Sumner. I wish his family the best. He was a wonderful man.
Amen to that one, Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Potato.
So I was reminded in my Facebook pictures today that we signed the beam for the Gordon Family YMCA 7 years ago this week. And, it's just great that it's still such a vital part of the community. And last week I found out that on Mondays they're having multi-care there to give COVID shots. So if anybody wants it, wants one. I'm not sure about the booster. I was hoping to get over there today, but I couldn't do it. So anyway, it's just good to know that they're a good partner for our community.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Potato. City Administrator.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Coming up at next week's study session, the Finance Department will be presenting on the 2022 ad valorem property tax levy, including the Finance Committee's recommendation for setting that levy later on in November. Speaking of that, on November 1st at our next regular council meeting, we'll be holding a public hearing on the 2022 ad valorem property tax levy. You'll consider an ordinance vacating the right-of-way for Sumner Bonnie Lake School District, which is what you had your public hearing on today. Consider an ordinance confirming the lodging tax expenditures, as well as a resolution adopting the Main Street Visioning Plan. As far as personnel issues, we're currently recruiting for a municipal court judge, an associate engineer or public works project manager, as well as a records management specialist. More information on those job openings can be found on our website. Regarding our sidewalk improvement project, it's continuing to move along at a good pace. Our project page, as a reminder, has the weekly updates as to where the contractor will be working. This week, they'll continue work on Kincaid and Cherry between Academy and Thompson Street, as well as in the area of Maple Street and Wood Avenue. And then, as Mr. Brown mentioned, Leroy Goff did pass away last week. His service is going to be held this Wednesday at 3 o'clock at Calvary Community Church. We did provide public notice for that, so council members are free to attend without the worry of a quorum. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Council members, any questions for Mr. Wilson? You're off the hook, Jason. Thank you for your indulgence tonight. It was the meeting times I was looking, oh, wait, didn't unmute yourself, or you muted yourself at the wrong time, or you're moving around. A week ago Saturday, I attempted to take a different pathway from a roof to a deck down below. It was via free fall. And so landed on the deck about 10, 12 feet below where I left the roof. And I was very blessed in that I landed on my side. So nothing was broken. Could have been worse, a lot worse. Unfortunately, the healing part when you become at this age takes forever. So the pain part of it just continues, but I was determined to do the council meeting, even if I screwed up at times, and which I did. But so appreciate your indulgence. We now have a rule, and that rule is thou shalt not visit roofs nor ladders. It just took this last one to finally sink home. So anyway, lucky to be here in this meeting with you all. That is a blessing that could have happened. So that's it in terms of my report. There is no executive session tonight. So being as there's no more business before the city council tonight, this meeting is adjourned at 7:11. Have a good evening, everyone.